really owns Congo's gold? The Okapi Reserve scandal. I wish I had better news this week, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Deep in the heart of Africa, there's this amazing, beautiful, protected rainforest that has the World Heritage Site designation by the UNESCO, which is also the home of the endangered okapi, the forest elephants, countless species found nowhere else on Earth. But within its boundaries, there's something happening that should not be possible. There's a gold mine, and it's not from the history books. No. It's unfolding in real time. And it's really making me question the rules of what's legal, what's ethical, and who gets to decide over natural resources. The Democratic Republic of Congo has been a paradox for many years. While it's one of the world's poorest nations, it's one of the richest in minerals. They have everything, you name it. Cobalt, copper, gold, diamonds, all in staggering quantities. In 2023, minerals made up roughly 80% of the country's export, with China as its largest trading partner. Now, this is not an issue in and of itself, but let's rewind back to Congo. Their people remain trapped in poverty, which the economists have called the resource curse, where instead of the amazing prosperity, the natural wealth fuels corruption, inequality, and exploitation. This is what we see in the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. As a little recap, it's 14,000 square kilometers of pristine forest. It's home to around 15% of the world's Okapi population, and since its creation in '96, mining has been strictly off limits there. Or so we thought. Earlier this year, an Associated Press investigation revealed that a Chinese-owned company, Kimia Mining Investment, has been operating inside the reserve for years. How? They altered the map to shrink the boundaries of the reserve by almost a third. That means that the operation was outside of the boundary of the natural reserve and the UNESCO site, so they didn't even have to consult UNESCO. They use these fake maps to secure mining permits that run through to 2048. UNESCO confirmed that they never agreed to any sort of boundary change. And quite frankly, they should have been consulted even if the project is just bordering the heritage site. These leaked documents from the Congolese government that were never intended for the public, of course, admitted the misrepresentation and called for mining inside the reserve to stop. There's, of course, no timeline of when and how it will happen, and there's no commitment that anything will even be done. The damage is already done. In just 5 months, these miners destroyed 480 hectares of forest. To put it into context, that's like 900 football fields, right? There's mercury they used to extract gold that already contaminated the rivers and the soils. Fish stocks are collapsing. Wildlife is disappearing. Based on local reports, it now takes 4 days to catch fish the fishers used to catch in a single day. Farmers also say that crops that fill 30 sacks now barely fill 3. Entire communities report losing up to 95% of their income. We're talking about real families with real, tangible, immediate consequences. Families having no money for school fees, no money for food, no work alternative. People who once farmed or mined, even if informally, they've been pushed out from the reserve and their livelihood is gone. There's no compensation, no plan for remedial action or livelihood restoration. Unfortunately, this fits the wider pattern in the Congo mining sector that has been long associated with unsafe, unregulated working conditions, often involving child labor with children as young as 7. And these kids do the heavy lifting. They dig, they carry the ore, they handle the mercury and the cyanide, risking injury or death for just a few dollars a day. You know me, I like to be balanced and objective, so it's important to recognize that not all mining in the Congo operates this way. There are initiatives, companies, cooperatives who are trying to raise standards, and there are federations working to keep children out of mines. Some sites are working with international initiatives to improve traceability, remove underage workers, and provide safer employment for adults. While the Congolese law already requires environmental impact assessment, permitting process that comes with a set of requirements for compliance, there is nothing stopping companies from going further than this and complying with international standards. They can set up proper worker health and safety measures, pay fair wages, have a grievance mechanism, and do real community engagement. The choice to operate responsibly is always there. Some make it, some don't. The Okapi Reserve scandal is part of a bigger story here, though. The story of geopolitics and who owns Africa's resources. Across the continent, foreign direct investment controls much of the mining industry, a lot of energy generating and transmission assets as well. According to UNTAD, Africa received a record $97 billion in foreign investment in 2024. It's a 75% jump from the previous year. In some African nations, more than 80% of mining production is foreign owned. And China being deeply embedded in the DRC resource sector with Sicko mines, that's the copper and cobalt mega project, MMG's Kinsevere mine, and now gold operations in protected areas. These Chinese companies hold stakes in some of the country's most valuable assets. But here are some more uncomfortable truths, yeah? Once this gold is refined, its origin is almost impossible to trace. That means that the ring on your finger or your bracelets, the circuity in your phone could be linked to deforestation, poisoned rivers, child labor, families left without livelihoods. Now the EU recognized this issue and introduced the conflict minerals regulation, but the enforcement is patchy and the global supply chains are opaque and complex and hard to trace. The incentive to look away is often much stronger than the will to act. I got some tough questions on my podcast about development and if so-called development destroys ecosystems and livelihoods. Is it still development? Should foreign ownership and foreign investment in resources in protected areas be limited or just banned? Can these supply chains ever be truly clean, especially if in this case, high-risk gold is almost indistinguishable from low-risk gold once refined? And perhaps the hardest question we should all ask ourselves, are we consumers of these products willing to pay more for metals with verifiable ethical origins? The Okapi Reserve scandal isn't a single rogue case. It's one of many over the years, but it's also a warning. If the rules could be bent for this project here, they could be bent for other projects in other places. Protecting places like the Okapi Reserve isn't just about saving wildlife, it's about defending the rights of people, the integrity of international law and cooperation, and the principle that the world's most valuable treasures should benefit everyone, not just a few companies.